Okay. Okay, good. And you? Okay. And you? Mm-hmm.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Peter, and I actually just come here to learn some interview skills, but it's okay to, for me to learn this SOP.
Okay. And how about back here? Grace? Okay. Okay. All right. And last but not least? Elroy? Edward, okay. Okay, good. Well, thank you all for coming today. My name is Rob Mucklow. I'm an instructor in the English Language Institute at the University of Pittsburgh, and I'm also our marketing and activities coordinator. This is a former student of mine, Emily. She went through our English Language Institute, improved her English, went to another university and did her MBA, and now she's back in Taipei working. So I brought her with me to help. Afterwards, if you have questions about her experience in the U.S. or experience in our program, any advice or tips, she'd be happy to answer questions, and I can answer any questions as well. Briefly, I want to tell you a little bit about our program, the English Language Institute, before we talk about the SOP, the Statement of Purpose. As you're all aware, your English skills have to be very advanced in order for you to be successful in any master's program, any PhD program, or even any undergraduate program. You're going to be in classrooms with native speakers of English, and you need to be able to compete with them and to be successful in your studies. So I want you to be aware of our program and programs like ours in the U.S., so that once you start your academic studies, your English is at a level it should be, and you'll be successful in your studies. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the credentials and experience of our program, our courses and programs, our instructors, the social and cultural activities we plan, housing options, some basic demographic information about our students. I'll give you some background about the University of Pittsburgh and the City of Pittsburgh, and then some information about our tuition and fees. It looks like a lot of information, but we'll go through it pretty quickly so that we can get to the heart of why we're here today, and that's the Statement of Purpose. We were established in 1964. That makes us 50 years old this year. We're one of the oldest intensive English as a second language programs in the U.S. There are programs that are older. Many of them are specifically designed for immigrants of the U.S. to learn English, not necessarily internationals who want to come to the U.S. to learn English. We are a university-based program within the Department of Linguistics. One of the things that I advise students to think about when you're choosing an English program is, what kind of program is it? Is this language school a for-profit company that sells language classes? Or is this language institute part of a university? Are they serious about teaching language? Is it a serious academic program? I'm not saying that the language schools that are for-profit are not good. Many of them are very good. But do your homework and do your research before you choose a language school. One thing to look for is accreditation. Accreditation means that the school has gone under a review from an outside body. They've looked at the teacher's experience and credentials. They've looked at the way the courses are taught. They've looked at the textbooks, the exams, everything about that program, and they say, yes, this is a good program. We have several different kinds of programs. The Intensive English as a Second Language program is our biggest one, and that's for anyone who wants to learn English. We have a professional and academic English program that many of you might be interested as graduate students, and we'll talk a little bit about that later. And we also have some additional courses and custom programs that I'll just briefly mention. First, our intensive program is for the development of academic and general English skills. This is full-time language study. So when you do this, you're only taking these English classes. It's 13 weeks. You're in class studying English for 20 hours a week. 1 hour for reading, or each day, 1 hour for reading, 1 hour for listening, 1 hour for speaking, 1 for grammar. I think, did I miss writing? 1 for writing. So you're focusing on each skill. We have typically, on average, 14 students per class. So the classes are small. You get the individual attention and feedback that you need to help improve your English. And what's important to notice is that we don't have classes for beginners. Our program starts at low intermediate, then we have intermediate, high intermediate, and advanced. And because we follow the academic calendar of our university, we have a full-time schedule all year round. Classes begin in January, May, and September. The professional and academic English program that is specifically designed for students who are entering a graduate program. The way this works is students who are accepted to a U.S. program or who want to improve their English for professional purposes sign up for this course, and it focuses on the development of advanced academic and professional English skills. In this class, you'll learn how to write a research paper and write one. You will read scholarly articles. You will do group presentations, PowerPoint presentations, all of the kinds of activities that will help prepare you for graduate studies in the U.S. It's also a full-time program, 6 weeks, 20 hours a week. It was designed by request of the Korean government several years ago, and it was very successful. They have scholarships for some of their for some government employees, and they gave them scholarships to come to the U.S. to get a master's degree. But they wanted to make sure these students would be successful with their English skills, with their academic preparation. So they asked us to design this course to help their students. And it was so successful that we started, it's open to any graduate student now. Not just students at the University of Pittsburgh. So if you're planning on going to a different university, you can still do this one first. And that is offered mid-June to late July. We have additional courses, Toefl, Ielts, conversation. Many students will come to us before they've applied to grad school. And they're studying for the TOEFL, they're studying for the GRE, they're on campus meeting with professors at the university, making connections, seeing if this is where they want to live for the next 2 years, or 5 years, or 7 years, or however long it takes you to finish your master's and PhD or achieve your academic goals. The special programs I won't really talk much about, but we do some custom programs for groups by request. Our instructors all have a minimum of master's level training. We use a modern communicative teaching methodology. So it's not just teaching you rules, you have to use the language. You're speaking, you're doing group work, you're doing pair work, you're using the language outside of the classroom. Our teachers are also actively involved in professional development, research, conference presentations, textbook writing, and you'll see some of the textbooks that our teachers have published here. So you can see we're serious about education. We're teachers. We have a social and cultural activities program. Our coordinator plans weekly activities for students. It gives them a way to use their language outside of the classroom. Things like picnics, we have a Halloween party, skiing. We were talking about baseball before, Victor. We take students to see the Pittsburgh Pirates baseball games. Yeah, hiking, we've gone horseback riding, lots of different activities. Each semester we also plan a trip to a nearby city. So we really focus on getting students outside in the real world and using their language. We have a community outreach coordinator who will plan weekly conversation groups, weekly conversation partners, volunteer work for you to do at nursing homes, reading books to children at schools. Other activities have included passing out food to the poor at the food bank. There are many, many, many opportunities for you to make friends in Pittsburgh, practice your English outside of the classroom, and really take advantage of your time in the U.S. For housing, we have many different options. We work with several homestay companies. You can do apartments on or near campus. There's a student residence hall in downtown Pittsburgh where all students in the city can stay there, short-term or long-term. And then, of course, there are dormitories at our university, but those are only available in the summer, from May to August. In this program, if you're an academic student studying for bachelor's, master's, PhD, there's housing, there are dorms for you. But if you're only studying English, it's only in the summers. Our students in the English Language Institute, we typically have around 175 per semester from 20 to 25 different countries. You'll see that we don't have many Taiwanese students right now. We only have 7. 15 from China, 18 from Korea, 22 from Japan. So why is that good for you? Why do you think? Oh, we would love more Taiwanese. You're all very kind and friendly, but why is it good for you? Why is it good for you to have few Taiwanese? You were going to say something? Yes. Yes. If there are few people who speak your native language, you're forced to make other friends and speak English with them. You'll make friends from all over the world. And if you take a look at the age range in our program, 23 to 29 is the biggest group. We get some students who are just finished from high school or in their first or second year of university and they come to us to improve their English, but we have many who are older as well. 60% of our students come to our program because they want to improve their English to get into a university, whether it's the University of Pittsburgh, Carnegie Mellon University in Pittsburgh, Duquesne, universities outside of Pittsburgh. We get many students who just want to improve their English and then move on to a bachelor's degree or master's degree. In our English program, you're part of the University of Pittsburgh. You get a student ID. You can join more than 460 student clubs on campus. You can use the libraries, our computer labs. 2 of the computer labs are open 24 hours. All students can print 900 pages per term, free Wi-Fi on campus and in the dorms. So you have all the conveniences. You don't have to worry about bringing a laptop, bringing a printer, all those things. Also with your PIT ID, you get unlimited public transportation in the city, buses, light rail downtown, the incline, which is a historic transportation that takes you up the side of the mountain, free visits to museums. So there are lots of advantages for having your student ID. The university itself was founded in 1787. Students will sometimes ask me, well, do you have a major in this? Do you have a degree in this? And my answer is sometimes, I think so, maybe, because we have so many different programs, it's hard to know all of them. If you have specific questions about programs, we can talk after and I can see online if we have it, or I can direct you to a person who can help you at the university. We have over 28,000 full-time students on our campus. 2,600 approximately are international students from 100 different countries. And you'll see that at the university, 99 are from Taiwan. The university is very highly ranked. It depends on which ranking system you use, which books you use, which department you're looking at. And that's something you need to think about when you're choosing an academic program, whether it's bachelor's, master's, or PhD, but it's not the only thing to think about. Don't only look for the highest ranking program. And I'm sure the Education USA advisors would agree with me there. There are lots of things to consider. Where you want to live, the professors you'll be working with, the student body at that university. Lots of different things to consider. Don't just look at the rankings. But we're very proud that we're highly ranked. We're located in the Academic Cultural District of Pittsburgh, very near downtown Pittsburgh. We're right across the street from a very large park, Shenley Park. And you'll see in the plaza here, students are sitting in the sun, reading, doing their homework, sometimes taking a nap. But it's very nice to have all of this green space right in the middle of the city. You've probably noticed in these photos the really, really, really tall building. That's called the Cathedral of Learning. It's the second tallest building of education in the Western Hemisphere, and the tallest in the Western Hemisphere, the second tallest building of education in the world. And it's called the Cathedral of Learning because these first 3 floors inside look like a cathedral. Dark stone walls, there are 2 really big fireplaces. Students often say it looks like Hogwarts from Harry Potter. And you'll see some pictures of that later, but it's a really interesting and unique atmosphere. I should have asked you first if you know where Pittsburgh is. Here's the map. You see we're in the Northeast, near the East Coast, kind of centrally located between Niagara Falls, New York City, and DC. It's a very convenient location for weekend trips to those cities. We've often been voted America's most livable city because it's a very high quality of life, very safe, very low cost of living. In 2011, we were voted the safest large city in the U.S. by a national insurance company. So the city of Pittsburgh, both inside the U.S. and abroad, is getting lots of fame for the quality of life that we have in our city. We like to say Pittsburgh has all of the advantages of a big city, but still the safety and friendliness of a small town. And it really does have that good feel. In terms of conveniences of a big city, we're home to a number of Fortune 500 companies. We're the only city in the world that has research and development centers for Apple, Google, Microsoft, Intel, and Disney. Technology is a really big industry in Pittsburgh lately. I'm not sure if it was CNN or Forbes or maybe Washington Post. Someone said Pittsburgh is the Silicon Valley of the East because there's so much technology there. A lot of it comes from the University of Pittsburgh, a lot comes from Carnegie Mellon, and a lot comes from the presence of these companies in our city. We also have professional theater, ballet, opera, sports. We're about an hour away from the mountains, so you can go hiking, camping, skiing. We have 3 rivers that you can go boating on, so the city is a very comfortable place to live. The tuition for our intensive program is $4,150 per term. And I won't get into all the details of the fees, but it's on the handouts that are on the tables. And I can answer any questions you have about this after the presentation. So that's that for now. Are there any questions before we continue? No? Then let's move on to the real reason you're here, the statement of purpose. So we have a statement of purpose. What makes you so special? That's the question you have to think about. This presentation was developed by Stacy Ranson. She's our student advisor. Students in our intensive English program can go to Stacy for help with applying to academic programs. Bachelor's, master's, PhD. She can help give you advice on writing your statement of purpose, give you advice on how to apply, answer your questions. So you have the support from our staff when you're applying to academic programs. In this presentation, we're going to go over some general ideas about writing a statement of purpose, the general objectives, suggestions for organization, suggestions for the content of your statement of purpose, some tips for writing, and then some general hints about the statement of purpose. So what is a statement of purpose? What does that mean to you? What is a statement of purpose? Any ideas? I think you know, or you wouldn't be here. What do you need a statement of purpose for? To introduce yourself, introducing yourself to the school. First, most graduate schools require this in some form. It might be called a statement of purpose, might be called a personal essay, might be called an application essay, but there's usually some kind of writing requirement. It's a way to introduce yourself. Why should you spend so much time and energy writing a statement of purpose? Why is it important? If you already have really good grades, you already have really good references, Why should you care about a statement of purpose? Any ideas? No? Well, that's okay. Maybe something to think about as we're going along. Hopefully by the end of this, you'll understand why this is so important. And you'll have some tips for writing the best statement of purpose possible for your application. The general objectives of a statement of purpose. The statement of purpose is your chance to stand out from the crowd. Show who you are. Introduce yourself. It's your chance to add important information that might not appear anywhere else on your application. What are some of the things they ask for typically in an application? There's the form to fill out. There's a statement of purpose. What else do they ask for? They want to know about your experience. How do you tell them about your experience? Okay, your degrees. So they want to know your educational background, maybe your professional experience, your grades. This is your chance to put all of the information that maybe isn't on those or that you want to explain further. You want to show the admissions team that you're interesting, you're unique, you're concise, and you're grammatically perfect. Why grammatically perfect? Why is it important that the English is good in this application essay? Yeah, part of it is they want to see your academic writing. The other part of it is you want to make sure that you're being understood. You want to make sure that it's clear. Now, I want to say some people will disagree with this. Some people will say it doesn't have to be perfect. It's more important about that it's your ideas and you're saying what you say. So I want to make it clear that this is only one perspective on how to write a statement of purpose. Many different people have their own opinions. You have to decide what works best for you. This is my advice. Someone else might have different advice, but this is our advice for you. You should think about, are you one in a million? Are you special? How many application essays do you think the University of Pittsburgh looks at each year? Billions? Those poor people. I hope it's not billions. Any guesses? Huh? Hundreds? Thousands? Any other guesses? How about you guys? You're quiet back there. How many application essays do you think the University of Pittsburgh looks at? 20,000? 5,000? How about over here? Thousands? Million? 50,000. Well, somewhere in the middle there. For fall 2013, the University of Pittsburgh received, this is for undergraduates, I believe, 27,631 applications, and a little more than half of them were admitted. Can you imagine being that admissions team reading 27,600 application essays? That's a good question. Not that many. I mean, it's not like there are hundreds of people. I've been in their office. It's a small office, so I would say not more than 100 for sure. So think about that. Are you one in a million? Are you special? The statement of purpose is your chance to shine. And again, let's be clear, there's no one right way to write a statement of purpose. The information I'm giving you here is some of our advice, some useful general guidelines. So what do you think? What should your statement of purpose show the admissions committee about you? What kind of information do you think is important for a statement of purpose? What's that? Motivation. Why you're motivated to do this. Why you're motivated to study for a master's or PhD. Why you're motivated to study this field. Anything else? Any ideas? Well, let's take a look. The admissions committees need to believe that you have goals that match their programs, that you care deeply about the field that you want to study, that you'll remain committed to study and be successful, that you'll work well with diverse groups of people, and that you'll be a good representative of their school even after you graduate. Your success is very important to graduate schools. The rankings that you see, those are oftentimes based on the success of the graduates. How quickly do those graduates get jobs after they graduate? What kinds of jobs do they get? Jobs in their field, high-paying jobs, low-paying jobs, jobs with good companies, with Fortune 500 companies or international companies? All of these are things that you need to convince the admissions team of. The goal of an SOP is to illustrate who you are, your personal qualities that make you a promising student. What is it about you that makes you special as a student? If there are 3,000 students applying to the engineering program, why should they choose you or you or you or you? Your professional or academic interests. The university wants to make sure that you're a good match for their program. If you say you want to study, for example, historical linguistics, and the university has a linguistics program, but they don't have historical linguistics, they want to make sure you're a good match. So you need to express your specific interests in your SOP. You want to talk about your goals and why they are your goals. What do you want to achieve? Are you planning on studying for a master's and then going for a job in industry? Are you planning on continuing for a PhD and then doing research? Or do you want to do a PhD and then work in academics and teach? What are your goals? You should illustrate your professional and academic experiences and your knowledge of the field. Your knowledge of the university and why you're a good match for the program. And we'll talk a little bit more about these in detail as we go. But being a good match for the program is very important. If they have to choose between two students who say, yeah, I want to study chemical engineering. Well, I'm not an engineer, but I know there are many different aspects of chemical engineering. Maybe your focus in chemical engineering and your focus in chemical engineering are very different. Only one of them matches what we offer or the research interests of the professors in our department. The university and the graduate program wants to know that. And then, of course, your future plans after graduation. What do you want to do? Let's talk now about the organization of your statement of purpose. There are many different ways to organize your writing and express your ideas. This is just one example. So keep that in mind. This is only one suggestion. You want to have an introduction, a hook. And maybe that hook is explaining your interest in the field, your knowledge of the field. You want to have another part that talks about your academics, presentations, professors you've worked with, research you've done, maybe publications you have already accomplished, classes you've taken that are really relevant to your studies. You want another part that looks at your work experience and professional accomplishments. Another part that maybe talks about related extracurricular activities and experiences. And the key word there is related. You know, they really don't care that you like ice skating. Unless ice skating is what inspired you to study physics. So think about these activities, your personal extracurricular activities and experiences. Are they related to your studies? Will the admissions team care? Will it sell you as an applicant? Part 5, explanations of problems, if it's needed. So if there are gaps in your CV that you want to explain, if maybe on your transcripts there's one semester where your grades are not as good as they were in other semesters, this is your chance to explain that. Tell them, in my junior year as an undergrad, my second semester, my grandmother died. I had to take a month off of classes. It was a very difficult time for me. I worked really hard to keep my grades up, but it was difficult. So instead of getting A's that term, I got B's, and that's not my typical work. This is an opportunity for you to explain that. Explain any issues in your CV or your transcripts that you want to clarify for the admissions team. And then there should be some kind of conclusion. Maybe that's where you talk about your future plans or why you've chosen that school or that program. We'll talk a little bit about each of these specifically, and we'll look at some examples of not so good examples and how we can make them better. Yes? Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, that's where you have to make the decision. You certainly don't want to focus on the negative. So if there are lots of problems, don't talk about all of them. I have bad grades, and I was out of work for 1 year, and I lost my scholarship. Don't talk about all the bad problems. Choose one of them, the one that's the most serious or the most important or the one that you really want to explain, and explain it in a positive way. How it was a negative experience, but you made it positive. So for example, in the example I gave about the student's grandmother dying, the student worked hard to get B's, not the A's they usually get, but B's. And we've all been through difficult emotional times. It's hard to focus. But if you can turn it into a positive and say, but you know what, I did it. I got B's, and that's still good. So whatever problem you're going to discuss, don't leave it as a problem. Show how you made it something positive, a learning experience, something valuable to your work experience or academic experience, but show it as a positive. Good question. And you mentioned the space limitations. We'll talk a little bit about that later too, because that's a very important point. So then moving on from the organization, let's look specifically at the content. What information can you include to make your best impression? Because remember, you want to tell the admissions team why you're special. Sell yourself. How can you convince the university that you're the right student for their program? Imagine how many students you're competing against. Each of these programs, maybe they only have a certain number of seats available each year. Maybe they only have a certain number of scholarships available each year. You're competing with those other students. Your job is to sell yourself. I know for some students in some cultures, we want to be more modest and we don't want to say good things about ourselves. You have to. This is your chance to tell them how good you are. You have to sell yourself. And if you're uncomfortable doing that, work with someone. Work with a counselor, work with an advisor, work with someone who has experience in a graduate program in the US, so they can help you figure out what are your strengths that you can sell to a university, and how can you say it in a way that you're comfortable so that you don't feel like you're bragging or you're boasting about your accomplishments. It's not viewed that way in America at all. It's viewed as you're selling yourself. You're telling the program why you're a good match for them. So the first thing is the introduction. Hook them from the start. What's a hook? Yes, like a fishing hook. You want to do that to the reader. Hook them in, pull them in. Make them want to learn more about you. Make them want to think, oh, yeah, I think she's going to be good for our program. Let me see what else she has to say. Get the reader's attention. Be unique. Be brief. This is only the introduction. You don't want to waste a lot of your space on the introduction. You want the majority of your space to be the body. Demonstrate your interest in the field. So how do you write about this? I know that even for very experienced writers, you know, you have a topic, but you have to sit down and get these ideas from your mind onto paper. The first thing to do is think about, what's the beginning of your story? How are you going to start your essay? How are you going to start to talk about yourself? Think about, why are you passionate about this area, this field of study? And what led you to this point that you're applying to graduate school? You know, many people study, maybe they're really passionate about fashion design, but they get a bachelor's degree and they move on. What motivates you to this point where now you're applying to graduate school? Maybe you can briefly discuss a concept from the field that interests you. And that doesn't mean, you know, take a key concept and give the definition. Talk about why it's interesting to you. What's your field of study? Yeah, pharmacy. So think about something, what is it about pharmacy that you are passionate about? And you don't have to give me an answer, but something to think about. Is it helping people? Is it the chemical interactions? Is it doing research and developing new pharmaceuticals? What is it that motivates you? Here's an example of a common beginning for a statement of purpose. I'll give you a minute to read that. I'm applying to the Master of Arts program in journalism at the University of Pittsburgh because I love to write. I've always wanted to be a writer, and I believe my writing will improve at your program. Your respected university is a place where I'll be challenged by working with well-known professors who will help me reach my goals. What grade would you give this? Maybe A, B, C, D? Let's go more general. Good or bad? You say bad? Who says bad? Who says good? Who's not sure? Whose arms are broken that I didn't see? Okay. This is actually not that good. Why is it not good? How could we make this better? More specific. This is so boring. Like what? Yeah, give some names. Be specific. So, I want to study journalism at the University of Pittsburgh because I love to write. So what? Who cares? All journalism students love to write, or they wouldn't be in that field, correct? What do you love to write? Why do you love to write? What inspires you the most about writing? I've always wanted to be a writer, and I believe my writing will improve at your program. Well, yeah, we hope all of our students' writing improves in our programs, right? Why? What classes do we offer that might help you? What professors do you want to work with? What about your writing do you think will improve at our program? Your respected university is a place where I will be challenged. Well, hopefully all universities are challenging their students. It's nice that you say that a university is well respected, but universities know their rankings. They know it's education and there's respect there. So think about how you can make this better. Is this grammatically correct and well written? Absolutely. Sentence structure is good. Grammar is good. Vocabulary is good. It's well written, but it's not a good paragraph for a statement of purpose. Here's a better example. If we rewrote that paragraph to sell that person better and show that they're special, show that they're a good applicant. During my undergraduate years, my interest in pursuing a Master of Arts in Journalism was greatly inspired by a lecture on the difficulties of women in Sudan, Africa. I was shocked to learn about the hardships that many Sudanese women faced, and I wondered why I had not read about this issue in the news. I began to write for my university newspaper, focusing on issues from around the world that were not being covered in the mainstream media. This lecture on the Sudan woke me up. It was the beginning of my long-term commitment to becoming a professional journalist. That talks a lot about that student as a person. Not your university is well respected, I'll learn a lot from you, you will challenge me, I love to write. This tells a story. This says, wow, this person sounds really interesting. I want to see what she has to offer. And they want to keep reading more. Questions? Yes. Well, I think it looks long because it's up here. And something else you have to consider is maybe this person doesn't have a lot of other publications or things to include. So when you're writing, you have to balance that. And this is a really interesting hook. So it might be a little bit long, but it's worth putting in there because it makes the reader want to learn more about you. It says this student can add something to our classrooms. This is not going to be some boring student who's going to sit there and write down everything I say without offering something back. They have lots of good experience to share. Of course, and please don't misunderstand, I'm not saying that if you write a beautiful paragraph like this, you get accepted. You know, they look at your grades and they look at everything else, but this is an important part of it. This tells about you as a person. Let's look at the body then. This will talk about your academic and work experience and related extracurricular activities. But keep in mind that everything in the body should be connected to your field or your goals and show that you have the qualities of being a strong student. Why should they want you? Think about experiences that will show the admissions committee that you're smart, reliable, organized, that you take initiative. You have ideas and you make them reality. You follow through. That you're motivated. You keep working even if you're challenged, even if it's challenging. That's really important for graduate students. Graduate work in the US is difficult work, even for native speakers of English. They want to know that when the times get tough, you keep going. You're not going to give up. You want to show them that you're collegial, that you get along well with others. Show them that you're a leader or a team player, or maybe how you're both. Something else you want to talk about in the body of your statement of purpose is, why is this school so special? You're telling them about why you're special. Why is their program special to you, and why is it a good fit? This is really, 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 really important. Do your research about that program and about that university. Your statement of purpose should be specific to each school. Never write one statement of purpose and just change the name of the university. I'm applying to the University of Pittsburgh because of you have very highly respected professors who are very famous, and I want to take your classes because I will learn a lot. Don't write that and then just change out the name of the university. Universities know that, and then it makes them think you're not a serious student. It's just like a job interview. They want to know that you care enough about their company, that you've done some research, and you want to work there because you know about their product, you know about their staff, you know about their programs. It's the same at a university. In graduate programs, you're going to be working very closely with these professors. They want to make sure that your research interests match theirs so that you can have a good working relationship for the next 2 years or 3 years or 5 or however long your program takes. Mention the professors by name. Some students say, oh, but I don't want to mention his name and not her name. That's okay. You're not going to offend professors. By mentioning his name, it's saying, I know he does research in the area that I want to study. That's good. You can mention 2 if you want, or 3 if you want. Don't list all of them. Mention the ones that are specifically related to your field of study or your research interests. Refer to the work or the research that's being done in that department. If that department is famous for their development of robotics technology. It's okay to mention that. You can say, I read a recent article in the Journal of Robotics that talked about the research coming out of Carnegie Mellon University. I read a recent article in the Journal of Education that talks about theories being developed by researchers at the University of Pittsburgh. It's great to mention that you know about recent research that's coming from those programs. Mention the features of the program that attract you. Do they require an internship? And you think that's an important part of your learning experience? Do they have required lab assignments where you must teach a lab to undergraduate students? If there are specific features of the program that will be beneficial to you or that really attract you, mention those. Don't mention things they already know about themselves, like saying, you were ranked number 4 in the U.S. News and World Report, and I want to go to a university whose name is famous and people in my country will recognize. Well, it's important that, name recognition in your country, that's important to you for your career goals, but the university knows they're number 4. So don't waste your space and your time including that information. Your conclusion, you can talk about your future plans. The final paragraph, that's your last chance to convince them you're special, to sell yourself, to show them that you're a good match for their program. Talk about your future plans. Summarize what you've already discussed in the Statement of Purpose essay. Remind them, this is why I'm a good match for your program. You can talk about what you'll contribute to the program. Maybe some highlights from your academic and professional experience that will make you a unique student in the classroom, where you can make special contributions. You can also talk about how you'll represent the program after you graduate. Are you interested in becoming involved in alumni networks? Are you interested in doing future research in the field? Publications, research. That will continue to represent the university's name after you've graduated. We're almost near the end here, so let's quickly talk about some writing tips. We mentioned before that SOPs can be very well written, but still be weak statements. So be careful of that. It's not just grammatically correct and good organization. It has to have good content. You have to sell yourself. Also keep in mind that a statement of purpose is an essay, not a CV. Many students just look at their CV and they say, I have a bachelor's degree in economics, I have an MBA with a focus in finance, I have 10 years experience at this company where I did X, Y, and Z. Don't just give them a narrative of your CV. They most of the time ask for your CV. They have that information. The SOP is your chance to give additional information. Explain, give examples. Illustrate the qualities and skills that make you a good candidate for graduate work. Don't just list your accomplishments. Things you could explain would be what you learned from the experiences on your CV, how those experiences motivated you, how those experiences are connected to your academic goals, how they make you a match for the program. Those are just some ideas of how you can incorporate information from your CV into your statement of purpose. But what's important there is illustrate, give examples. Use concrete examples of experiences that show your qualities and abilities. Don't write something like, I'm a leader. Describe instead an experience when you showed that you were a good leader. We say, don't tell me, show me. Be specific. Many statement of purposes will do something like this. I'm an organized, reliable student who loves a challenge and loves working with others on team projects. Blah, blah, blah. Anybody can say that, right? But don't tell me, show me. Give me an example of a situation where you did something. something from your academic or professional experience related to your field that actually illustrates one of those characteristics. It doesn't have to be all of them. It's better to choose one or two and give a good concrete example of that than to just say something empty like this. Here's a sentence from a statement of purpose that our student advisor recently reviewed. My undergraduate courses allowed me to develop the required knowledge base for the field and prepared me to take on challenging projects. It's a well-written sentence, grammatically correct, good vocabulary, but it's boring. Blah, blah, blah. Don't tell me, show me. What's wrong with the picture? It's not a picture at all. Can you imagine this in your mind when you read this sentence? Do you have an image of a person? No, it's empty words. It's not a picture at all. So avoid these kinds of empty sentences. Paint a picture in the admissions team in their mind about you. For example, this is the original sentence, the empty sentence. It doesn't provide real information, doesn't talk about what the knowledge base is, doesn't say what the project was or why it was challenging, doesn't say how the writer responded to that challenge. So something else to think about is be careful that you've completely answered any of the questions or prompts from the university. If they say talk about a strength and a weakness, you better make sure you talk about a strength and a weakness. Answer the prompt. Be sure that all of the content relates to your potential as a graduate student. Statement of purposes are generally 1 to 2 pages, single-spaced, 12-point font. Usually Times or Times New Roman is the font, with 1-inch margins. That's a pretty standard format for any kind of academic paper in the US. Sometimes it will be double-spaced, but for statement of purpose, usually single-spaced. And most applications will tell you specifically 1 to 2 pages or 2 to 3 pages. They might even give you a specific word count and say no more than 1,500 words. Make sure that you don't go over 1,500 words. Always be completely honest. Yes, you're trying to sell yourself. You want to show the university why you're special and why you're a good match for their program, but be honest. You're going to get to their program, or maybe they'll do an interview. They'll find out. Always be honest. Also, very important, never ever copy or plagiarize someone else's statement of purpose. It might be helpful for you to look at a statement of purpose from other applications, from other students applying who are in your field, to give you an idea or to give you samples, but never ever copy sentences from their statement of purposes. It doesn't do you any good. And if the university recognizes that sentence, then you're automatically going to be, put in the no pile. For the general hints, here's our last hint. Revise, revise, revise. Don't think you're going to sit down and write your statement of purpose and be done in a few hours. Revise, revise, revise. A good statement of purpose, a strong statement of purpose that really sells you, will have many drafts. Because as you're writing, you'll get new ideas. Well, wait, what about this time at my job when I did this and it was really good? Or what about this research I did and my professor thought it was really good and asked me to submit it to this competition? So as you're writing, you'll start to remember some things from your past that would be really good to sell yourself. Good statement of purposes are thoroughly proofread. That doesn't mean necessarily hire someone to fix your mistakes. Ask them to find your mistakes and you fix them. Maybe they can tell you, there are things wrong with the verb tense. You should look at it. And of course, good statement of purposes are your own work. They're never copied. That's all I have for you for statement of purposes. This is our general guidelines for one approach to writing a statement of purpose. Do you have any questions? Yes. Well, no. You should follow whatever their word requirement is. Some universities will say maximum 1,500 words. So you don't want to go over 1,500. But you certainly want to take advantage of as much of that as you can. If you only write 1,000 words, they might say, maybe this guy doesn't know how to express himself. So try to be as close to the maximum as possible. That's my personal advice. Over, yeah. Well, and that's the hard part. For usually with any kind of advanced writing, you have so many ideas, it's hard to cut it down. Then you really have to ask yourself, okay, rank things. What do I think is the most important, my strongest selling points? What do I think the university wants to know the most about me that will make me special, that will make me stand out from the thousands of other applications? Yeah. That is very difficult. What do I cut? How do I cut? Yeah, always, that's tough. But that's why you'll have many revisions. And something else that's challenging is you might have one university that says 1,000 words maximum. Or they might say that maybe they have 3 different questions. This one you get 750 words, this one 500, this one 1,000. How do you, then you have to rewrite the entire statement of purpose to fit those questions. It is tough. You'll revise.
Yeah, and there's one point that just says that we should completely honest about within the SOP.
Yes.
But something like you just say that if I just fail maybe a subject,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Should I just make some excuse?
No. You don't want to make an excuse. You want to be honest. So if you failed a class, if that's true, yes. I had this semester I failed this class, but that was the semester where I had to get a part-time job because I had to help pay for my tuition, and it was a challenge for me because I never had to work and manage my school studies at the same time management. However, I learned from that. I learned how to manage my time, and now I'm very well prepared for the rigorous time requirements of graduate study. So you can turn that into a positive. If it's true, if it's honest, that's the way you want to address it. Yeah. Yeah, be honest. Honesty is always the best. Yeah. Any other questions? How about you guys in the back? You're kind of quiet. None? Are we all ready to write a statement of purpose? I brought paper and pens. No, I'm teasing. Okay, well, if there aren't any questions, then I'll end for now. I'll stick around. Feel free to come up and ask questions. I have information on the tables here. There's information about our English language program, information about the University of Pittsburgh. If you want more information, fill out one of these cards and give it to me. Information about anything. Just be sure that you're specific about which program you're interested in, and I can put you in contact with the right people. There's also on the tables pens and pencils from our university and Hershey's Kisses. Hershey's Kisses come from Hershey, Pennsylvania, which is also in our state, on the other side of the state of Pittsburgh, other side of the state of Pennsylvania. Okay. Thank you all for coming tonight. The weather? Well, we have 4 distinct seasons: winter, spring, summer, fall. Right now it's pretty cold. It's unusually cold. Usually now we're in spring, but today there's actually some snow.
Yeah, I heard that this year is like the coldest within 100 years.
I don't know if it was the coldest in 100 years, but we did have some very cold days. They were calling it the entire eastern part going into the Midwest of the U.S. They were calling it the Polar Vortex. And it was some way that the winds were blowing that made our region really cold this year.
How cold is it? Just like
today, I believe it was 28 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't know what. 3?
Okay.
Or minus 2. Oh, 5. We're good. Any other questions? Yes.
Some people will tell us that if your GRE or
Yeah, so that's something else to keep in mind. If they say, you know, they have a TOEFL requirement of 90 and a GRE requirement of this or this, you should match those numbers. Or contact the university. Contact a professor in that department, contact someone on their graduate admissions committee, and ask them,